I am tired of the UFC babying Paddy Pimblett throughout his career and giving him all these undeserved positions and shots to make something of his career. I'm not saying the dude's not good. I'm just saying he hasn't had to earn it the same way everyone else has. Man, play my music. So when you look at Paddy Pimblett, we're talking about a dude who is a champion in Cage Warriors, a featherweight champ at Cage Warriors. That legitimately means he's a top 20 guy in the world at 145. He goes up to 155, he wins a few more fights, and then he gets to the UFC. Now, a guy who is a top contender at 155 pounds in Cage Warriors and a former champion at featherweight at Cage Warriors, you'd expect him to get better levels of competition than what he's had to deal with in the UFC. But we got Luigi Vendramini as his debut opponent, who is garbage. Garbage. Luigi Vendramini was quite literally 1-2 heading into the fight with Paddy Pimblett, and overall has a disgusting record of 9-3, and he was never that good. He was never even that good. They absolutely babied him. And he's currently 13-3, but they babied him by giving him Paddy Pimblett. I mean, they babied Paddy Pimblett by giving him that. It's a disgusting thing to see. Like, he's truly, clearly as day, not the kind of guy who would have really tested, who was supposed to test Pimblett that much, and he was touching Pimblett up in that fight. Then they gave him Kazula Vargas, and Vargas is worse than Luigi Vendramini. They dropped him down in competition just so he could have a moment at UFC London. Then they bring it back up for another UFC London card where they have him fight Jordan Levitt. Jordan Levitt is a good UFC fighter, but if there's 100 fighters at the UFC's lightweight division, Jordan Levitt might be ranked like number 70 on his best day. Truly, like, he's a UFC level fighter. He ain't that good. He's a great grappler. He's strong, but he's not quite the elite level. And then they give him Jared Gordon. Jared Gordon, that was actually a decent bump up in competition. He lost that fight. Jared Gordon clear as day beat Paddy Pimblett, and you are smoking if you gave that fight to Paddy Pimblett. Then they give Paddy Pimblett Tony Ferguson on like a 7-fight loss streak. He beats Tony Ferguson, but really? That's what we're doing? A 7-fight loss streak, Paddy Pimblett? Really? And then we're giving him Bobby Green, who, if I remember correctly, was just coming off the Jim Miller fight. Yeah, he was just coming off the Jim Miller fight. So, I mean, beating Bobby Green the way he did was still pretty good, because Green was regarded as like a damn near ranked level lightweight, but still, they're talking about this dude like he's the like, next up for the title, and then they give him a ranked opponent. Dog, he never had to fight Ignacio Bahamondes. He never had to fight Manuel Torres. He didn't have to fight Goram Kusteledze. He didn't have to go through the Thiago Moises test. He didn't even beat Trey Ogden. Trey Ogden, man. He didn't even beat him. There's dudes like Jordan Vucinic who had to go on a crazy run in Cage Warriors to get signed, had to debut on a week's notice against Goram Kusteladze, and then his next fight is Chris Duncan, another guy who Paddy Pimblett hasn't fought. He hasn't fought Terrence McKinney. He didn't fight Matt Favola, Fares Ziam, Cal Fernandez. All these people are there, ready, waiting, and ready to fight. They love to fight Paddy Pimblett. Paddy Pimblett is not fighting these guys. So I don't view him as a real contender in this weight class, because he didn't have to put in any blood, sweat, and tears to get into the rankings or to fight a ranked opponent in Michael Chandler. They got the easiest matchups they could give him that were somewhat still interesting. He didn't have to deal with Alex Hernandez. Come on. Alex Hernandez isn't even that good, but he didn't have to fight him. He didn't have to fight Michael Johnson. We know what Michael Johnson would do to him. Come on. Be for real, be for real. And this is why I don't like Paddy Pimblett and his whole rise to the title. Because when he came to the UFC, I was very, very excited because he was a very good prospect. who was a champion at featherweight in Cage Warriors, which means he's one of the best fighters in the world, but he's not fighting the level of competition that one of the best fighters in the world should be fighting. And I think it's gonna backfire when he fights Justin Gaethje, and Justin Gaethje's gonna put some hands on him. But we're seeing Paddy Pimblett have no history with any of the dudes in the rankings. He didn't have to fight RDA. He didn't have to fight Grant Dawson. He didn't have to fight none of these people. And you keep looking back of all the people he didn't fight. He didn't fight Dan Hooker, Jalen Turner. And you just start wondering, like, yo, is he really that good? Yo, he's not fighting nobody. He didn't fight Rafael Fiziev. He didn't fight. He didn't even pass the Mateus Gamrot test. There's guys like Miktabek Orolbai and Mateusz Rombetsky and Ludovic Klein who have to fight through hell to even get something. Esteban Ribovic is 5-1 in his last 6, and he's nowhere near the rankings. But Paddy Pimblett can get gifted and laid up opponent after opponent after opponent after opponent, and I see other fighters have to earn their way and fight much more dangerous levels of competition. Not everybody gets to have that. Dude, Nazim Sadyakov had to fight Nicholas Mata. Nicholas Mata had to fight Shalyan Nurdian-Beke. Like, what are we even talking about? We're talking about like a division full of nothing but killers, nothing stacked to the teeth, stacked to the brim, and he's been able to politically move his way around to never have to deal with any real level of threat as far as competition. Bobby Green is not a threat because even though he's good, he's either going to beat the fuck out of you or he's not. He's not going to knock you out, most likely, because he only has one KO win in the UFC, and that was against a washed Al Iaquinta. Tony Ferguson was on a crazy loss streak. It's a great name to have on your resume, but at that point in his career, you're a bitch for taking that fight. Michael Chandler? Really? Michael Chandler. Out of all the people who are in the rankings right now, Michael Chandler might be the easiest stylistic fight he had to do. Because, sure, Michael Chandler could knock you out, but he's just a huge name. And if he doesn't knock you out, which he's going to fumble the KO, then you're just out grappling him because he has no jiu-jitsu. You didn't have to deal with Grant Dawson's jiu-jitsu. You didn't have to deal with the stand-up of Rafael Fiziev, the non-stop and unbreaking spirit of Dan Hooker. And the thing is, I think he beats some of these guys, but we never see him face those guys. These guys who would actually test him. I think he's too green, and he's not going to beat Justin Gaethje. I think Justin Gaethje is going to humiliate him. I think Justin Gaethje is going to kick his legs out from underneath him, is going to track him down and walk him down and put him away. Paddy Pimblett's going to put up a decent fight, though. He's going to survive to a round 2 or round 3 before he gets KO'd. But, like, are we forgetting who Justin Gaethje is? Or are we forgetting who he is? The only reason Fiziev got a takedown against Gaethje is because Fiziev has never shot a takedown in his fucking career. It was completely, like, unexpected. We all expect Paddy Pimblett to be shooting takedowns, and unless he gets Gaethje's back, which Gaethje has no jiu-jitsu, then there's that. But even still, like, I look at all the people in the top 5 of the lightweight rankings. You have Arman Tsarukyan, you have Justin Gaethje, you have Charles Oliveira, you have Max Holloway, then you have Paddy Pimblett, and it's like, yo, one of these things don't belong. Paddy Pimblett does not belong. I think Paddy Pimblett's a ranked level fighter, but that's only because he's been spoon-fed up the rankings. If he had to fight the real killers of this weight class, this nigga would not get past Rong Zhu. Chris Padilla would have a field day with him. Maybe he beats Ishmael Bonfim, but Benoit Saint-Denis would have walked through him and knocked him out brutally. I do not believe in Paddy Pimblett, and I am tired of Paddy Pimblett getting this preferential treatment from the UFC, getting these undeserved matchup after matchup after matchup. They build him up more and more and more, and this dude is garbage. It's not that he's completely garbage. Let me take that last statement back, but you expect more from somebody who had a belt in Cage Warriors, who had a fought for a few titles in Cage Warriors, who was a top contender in Cage Warriors. You expect them to be fighting guys like Thiago Moises and Trey Ogden and all these really dangerous guys right outside the rankings to prove their worth, because that's what they are. But instead, we've given him Luigi Venturini, legitimately might have been one of the worst UFC fighters of his era. Kazula Vargas, who was literally the worst fighter signed to the UFC at 155 pounds. Jordan Levitt, another bottom tier lightweight. Jared Gordon, past his prime, before Jared Gordon put together like 3 or 4 in a row. And even then, Paddy Pimblett didn't win that fight. We watched him get exposed. He looked like dog shit in that fight. Dude had no head movement. His boxing was terrible, and he just had really good footwork. Tony Ferguson on like a 7-fight losing streak, literally just giving him a layup win. Bobby Green, who is closer to 40 than he is to 30, and has no KO threat, and has never had any good jiu-jitsu. While he does have great takedown defense because he is a good wrestler, once you get him down to the ground and start implementing a jiu-jitsu game plan, he falls apart because he doesn't have it. Michael Chandler never has had good jiu-jitsu. He's only had the wrestling and crazy power, and he doesn't have a crazy good gas tank, especially at this point in his career. What are we even doing with this Paddy Pimblett shit? Like, yeah, Paddy Pimblett looked pretty good against Michael Chandler, but Michael Chandler is not technically good at all. He completely relies on his freak athleticism, and now we're just gonna give him Justin Gaethje for a title? Bro, fuck Paddy Pimblett. He hasn't done shit to earn this fight. He's done nothing to earn his keep in the UFC as far as merit-wise. He has none of those wins screams he deserves that. You know what Manuel Torres would have done to Jared Gordon? You know what Ignacio Baja Mendez would have done to Tony Ferguson? Do you know what even a dude like, who's another guy who's like dangerous outside the rank? Chris Duncan. Chris Duncan's not even ranked. You know what Chris Duncan would do to King Green? Bobby King Green? You know what Chris Duncan would have did to Tony Ferguson? You know what Chris Duncan would do to Jared Gordon right now? I'm like, if you give Terrence McKinney Paddy Pimblett's career, he's 7-0 in the UFC, 7 first-round knockouts. I fully believe that. And it just feels like there's a section of the UFC that is just for building stars, and then everyone else who actually has to fight through the fucking trenches to earn their way. And Paddy Pimblett, you know, he's good, but he hasn't done shit to earn this. Nah. So I will always be anti-Paddy Pimblett until he starts fighting some real contenders. Until he starts showing that heart, that metal. And until then, yo, Merry Christmas, and don't forget to like and subscribe.